Hi everybody, today's video is going to be all about frequency, vibration, the chakras, right? Everything in reality is particles vibrating, and also substances like caffeine, alcohol, weed, and plant-based medicines. You know, what is our personal vibration based off of what we put into it? You know, how these different substances affect us, and the frequency. So first we'll start off with like a little tiny math and science review, and then we'll get into the content. This is going to be a little bit longer of a video, so hopefully it's interesting. It's definitely can be very helpful, so bear with me if you want to watch it. It has a lot of good information, so thank you very much for joining me, and let's get started. Alright, so here's a little math and science review real quick. Today we're talking about frequency. And remember, frequency, or F, is the number of events per unit time. It yields us the equation frequency equals 1 over T. T is the period, the time it takes to complete one cycle, because in a wave, the number of events is one cycle, from the high point back to the high point, or the low point back to the low point. However you want to look at that, that is the period of a wave. Light and sound both move in waves. And remember, reality is simply particles vibrating. And in vibration, it's just like the wave. We have the up and down cycles. One vibration is equal to the period. It's one vibration. Okay, so for sound, the frequency is 1 over seconds. So we're going to measure the time it takes in seconds for the period. So that's inverse seconds, otherwise known as hertz. Now for light, we have the speed of light, c, equals the frequency times lambda, the wavelength. The speed of light is constant, 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. So remember, that's 3 with 8 zeros after it. C equals frequency times lambda. That means the frequency for light is going to be the speed of light divided by lambda, where lambda is the wavelength in nanometers, which is 10 to the negative 9 meters. 0.00000. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 1 nanometer. 0.000000001 meters equals 1 nanometer. So the human ear can generally hear in a range. So this is the range. The range of the human ear is about, approximately 20 to 20,000 hertz. And the human eye is approximately 399 terahertz to 789 terahertz. Now, that's quite a large range. So we have, for the ear, 20 and 20,000 Then we have tera. A tera is like a terabyte. We have megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, right? So 1 tera is 10 to the 12th power. So that's 12 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 399. So this is hertz. To 789 terahertz. So this is the range of the human ear, this is the range of the human eye. You can see we have a large gap of frequencies before and after each range that the human cannot perceive. We perceive hearing particles vibrating in this range, and we see particles vibrating in this range. Now this is red light, and this is violet light, the visible light spectrum. That is a frequency. These are all frequencies. So the corresponding wavelength to these colors of light is 750 nanometers and 380 nanometers. So that's a gist of frequency and vibration. Remember, vibration is one cycle, which is known as the frequency. So when we look at reality as particles vibrating, there's an actual mathematical number associated with these particles and the rate at which they vibrate, in other words, the frequency. So now let's talk a little bit about us. What is our vibration? You hear this a lot in the spiritual, metaphysical, New Age worlds. You know, what's your vibration? Well, let's go take a look at that next. So next, I'm going to be drawing out David R. Hawking's scale of emotions, talking about our vibration. And before we get to the scale of emotions, one last thing to mention regarding the range of the human eye. Remember, 399 terahertz to 789 terahertz, otherwise violet, and through red, as it appears in wavelength order. It's opposite when you look at it in frequency order. The color of the rainbow, Roy G. Biv, right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Well, it is science, a well-known science, that there are frequencies outside of that range within the electromagnetic spectrum that do exist, and we do actually use those in our human technology. So we know about them, we just can't see them. For example, ultraviolet, that vibrates higher than violet. Infrared vibrates lower than red. We use those both in, like, let's say tanning beds or remote controls and TVs. We have microwaves, we have radio waves, we have X-rays. These are all rays of light or vibrations of particles that are outside our visible light spectrum that we still use in science and technology, electronics, medical field, everything. And also with hearing, there's subsonic and supersonic, things that we cannot hear if the particles are vibrating a certain rate outside of our range. So that being said, when people are talking about ghosts and spirits and different things like that, you know, and how dogs can hear dog whistles and we can't. So we are very aware, actually, that there are frequencies outside of our range that we can utilize. We just can't perceive them. So keeping an open mind, knowing that, takes me into the next topic about what happened to the Mayans and what happened to Jesus. So what happens when particles vibrate outside of our human sense perception range? Or, for example, you know, when something's too dense, we can't see through it, like this rock. will block the view of me. The particles are too dense to see through it. It's vibrating really slowly. The faster something vibrates, we call it a higher vibration, a higher frequency. And we can have different vibrations of the particles of our body. So this is what the mystics and the yogis and the monks have discovered, and Jesus and the Mayans. What they did was they raised their frequency so high that their particles vibrate outside of our visible light spectrum. Remember that violet light. So if we're vibrating higher than violet light, other humans won't be able to see us. Think about that for a moment. So what if, and assuming that you believe the stories in the Bible, Jesus was on the cross during his crucifixion, and he was praying for the other humans and saying, "Father, please forgive them, for they know not what they do." And they were putting him to death. But by this time, Jesus had already gone to India and become enlightened. He had all the knowledge he needed and was bringing it back to his home country, which we now call Israel. And he was trying to preach and share truth. We all kind of know the story. He ended up getting crucified and killed, and not many people believed him. And then, according to the story, he was placed in the tomb behind a large rock in the cave, where 3 days later he was gone to check on it and his body was gone. So imagine for a moment that Jesus was enlightened. And he knew how to vibrate his particles higher than the frequency of which humans can see. So essentially, that's how someone would disappear. Now, they've also said this about the Mayans. They said the Mayans just one time vanished. We have places like Machu Picchu and different places on Earth which actually have super high vibrations. So when a group of people comes to spiritual completion, they learn the techniques and they master energy, which is part of what we're here doing as humans, and that's why we're always trying to raise our own vibration, right? I mean, do you want to feel sad and unhappy, shame, guilt, and fear, and anxiety and stress? Or would you rather be feeling love, joy, peace, happiness, even contentment, courage? So those are vibrations. Those emotions are energy in motion, which again is vibrations, particles vibrating. That's our whole entire reality, right? Everything we see, everything we hear, touch, everything we feel, it's all vibrations. So if we can raise our vibration up to a point where the particles are vibrating so fast that they can't be seen, what would happen? Well, we would disappear, right? So let's think about that for a moment. Where did the Mayans go? Where did Jesus go? Maybe they disappeared and then can come back in and out of their bodies at will. Right, we're finished with our art project today, which is David R. Hawkin's Scale of Emotions from his book Letting Go. I took some notes when I listened to that book before, and I'll be discussing our scale of emotions and also how it relates to our chakras and different substances. So the scale of emotions is a logarithmic scale from 20 to 1000. And remember, logarithmic is not linear. It looks more like a graph like that, you know. So it goes up exponentially. So at 20, let's first go over the categories. We have the level, the frequency, and these are not hertz. Like we were talking about hertz as vibration earlier, these aren't actually hertz. It's a logarithmic scale of emotion, emotional frequency. We have the emotion it relates to and what is one's view of life at that emotional state or level. So we have shame. I've color-coded these to where courage in the middle is the breaking point. Everything below courage is considered negative, and everything above courage is considered positive. Now let me explain that a little bit. They did muscle tests on people during these different emotions, and they were able to actually physically hook up machines to people and see that the negative emotions lower your vibrations, which actually weakens your muscles. So they noticed a physiological response in the muscles. Above, it strengthens you. So anything below will weaken you, anything above will strengthen you. That goes for the immune system, that goes for your mental, emotional health. I think we've all been there before. I think we've all felt these before. And we've probably all felt some of these. Peace and enlightenment are extremely hard to obtain on a constant basis, but we've probably at least felt joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness, neutrality. Alright, so shame at 20, it is humiliation, as in hanging your head in shame, traditionally accompanied by banishment. It's destructive of health and leads to cruelty to self and others. Guilt wants to punish and be punished. It leads to self-rejection, masochism, remorse, feeling bad, and self-sabotage. Kind of like it's all my fault. Accident proneness, suicidal behavior, projection of self-hatred onto, quote, evil others are common. It makes a lot of psychosomatic illnesses. So we have apathy at 50, hopelessness, playing dead, being a drain to others, being immobilized by feelings like I can't and who cares. That's where poverty is common. Grief, 75, is helplessness, despair, loss, regret, feeling if only I had, separation, depression, sadness, feeling like a loser, mourning, feelings as if I can't go on. Fear at 100 sees danger which is everywhere. It is avoidant, defensive, preoccupied with security, possessive of others, jealous, restless, anxious, and vigilant. And so, again, we have the view of life just summed up in one word with the emotion. So with fear, we have anxiety, and it's frightening. We have desire at 125, that's seeking gain and acquisition, pleasure, and getting something outside of oneself. It's insatiable, never satisfied, and craving. Have to have it. Give me what I want and give it to me now type of feeling. You know, that's always craving something. Overall, the view of life is disappointing. We have anger at 150. It overcomes the source of fear by force, threats, and attack. Irritable, explosive, bitter, volatile, and resentful. It likes to get even, as in, I'll show you. The emotion there is hate, and the view of life is antagonistic. Then we're moving up the ladder till pride, 175. And pride is, my way is the best way. Focus is on achievement, desire for recognition, specialness, and perfectionism. Pride has an emotion of scorn and a view of life of demanding. Now we get to the neutral point of courage. So I've colored it in yellow, but I've also outlined it in black because it's kind of neutral, where the color coding here, you know, red, orange, and yellow are below in the negative, and green, blue, and purple are in the positive. So courage is I can do it, determined, excited about life, productive, independent, and self-empowered. Effective action is possible. We have the emotion of affirmation and a view of life as feasible. Now we're getting to be into the positive emotions. Now remember, we shift, just like those cycles that we were talking about. We go up and down, but you basically have a base. You have a baseline emotion where you're vibrating at, depending on what are your daily habits, what do you put into yourself as far as diet, words, thoughts, who you surround yourself with, activities that you do, the karmas that you create by the actions that you do. Many different factors going into what is your base vibration. On the positive end, we have neutrality. At 250, it's a way of life that is comfortable, pragmatic, relatively free of emotionality. It's okay either way. Feeling of free of rigid positions, non-judgmental and non-competitive. There we find the emotion of trust, and the view of life is satisfactory. Willingness at 310, subserve survival by virtues of a positive attitude that welcome all expressions of life. Friendly, helpful, wants to assist, seeks to be of service. There we have emotion of optimism and a view of life hopeful. Acceptance at 350 is easygoing, laid back, harmonious, flexible, inclusive, free of inner resistance. Life is good. Feeling of connection, meeting life on life's terms. No need to blame others or life. There we have emotion of forgiveness and the view of life of harmonious. Reason 400 separates the humans from the animal world, ability to see things in the abstract, conceptualize, be objective, and make rapid, correct decisions. Problem solving, science, philosophy, and logic occur here in reason. There we have an emotion of understanding and a view of life that is meaningful. Now, the next three are actually hard to keep, are hard to get there for humans and keep, or the next few. So don't feel bad if, we're not here yet, and that's okay. Love is at 500. It's forgiving, nurturing, and supportive, from the heart and not the mind. It focuses on the essence, not the details. Perception is replaced with vision, sees lovability in all of existence. There we have the emotion of reverence, and the view of life is benign. At 540 we have joy, love that is unconditional and unchanging. Beauty is seen in all things. The perfection of creation is evident. Compassion for all, enormous patience, at oneness with others, concern for their happiness, sense of self-completion prevails. So there, joy is the emotion of serenity. View of life is complete. Now at the top, very few humans have gotten here. Enlightenment. Frequency range between 700 and 1000. Oh, I skipped a piece, didn't I? Okay. So, well, before we get there, and also very few humans have gotten here, peace is 600. Bliss, oneness, non-duality, illumination, enlightenment, rare in the human realm. Characterized by bliss, with the view of life as perfect. Enlightenment, even more rare to get to, is from 700 to 1000, and that's when we come into the knowledge of exactly how things are, who we are, the ultimate knowledge, the Christ consciousness, the Buddha point. There's been some people that have gotten there before, and whenever they do, they pretty much become spiritual teachers and leaders. And we see some of them alive today, and then we see a lot of them that have already dead and came and done their piece. So where do you want to be at? Here, is us. So, we start off life vibrating more down here, maybe. Or maybe you started off more up here. Who knows? Depends on the work you did last life. But we have the 7 chakras and their corresponding vibrations. So the root is at 200, right at courage. The sacral is 275. Sorry, I'm all one-handed here. So I've color-coded the chakras by the emotional scale color on the right, and on the left is the actual color of the chakra. So as we go up from the first, second, and third chakra, you notice everything's above 200. Everything's in the positive as your natural state as a human. Now the heart is our center point, and it jumps because we have 200, 275, 275. The heart goes to 505, so that's in love. And then when we get to the throat, which is the fifth chakra, it's actually below the heart. It's at 350 of acceptance. We're able to speak our mind, speak our boundaries. Our third eye is going to vibrate at 525, and the crown chakra at 600. So you see we have love, joy, and peace in the upper chakras, which correspond to the heart, third eye, and crown. So on the left again is the color of the chakra, and on the right is the color of the scale of emotions. Now let's talk a little bit about substances, because basically almost everybody does or has done substances in their life which change your vibration, and we've noticed this. So we're just a human being, and maybe we have some of those feelings of guilt and shame, apathy in us, and it's holding us down, right? Because we're trying to float up here into enlightenment. That's generally what we're doing as a human being on earth, but these are holding us down, vibrating more densely, and we're noticing we don't feel that great. Shame and guilt and apathy, maybe we can get out of those a little bit, and the world's not all miserable, hopeless, and evil. Maybe we get up, get our vibration a little bit higher, and oops, bear with me. And we color it in a little bit of orange, we got some fear, some grief. We do notice we have some desires and fear, it's coupled with that anxiety, a little bit of regret and craving. But you know what? We're human. So we got to accept ourselves, right? Like this is the journey, and this is a path. It should all be honored, and it's great because without these lower ones, we wouldn't know that the upper ones are special. So really, don't beat up on yourself if you're currently in these lower ones, or if you're feeling these mostly as your base vibration on a day-to-day. Don't beat up on yourself. Be easy on yourself. Have some love. So let's talk a little bit about these color coordinations of the red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. So the red and orange is actually suffering. The yellow is just getting by. The green is when we're in the flow. The blue is like pure Tao, as they say in the Taoism, like you're at one with going left or right. You don't have to make a decision, but you just respond to what is coming at you. You neither do nor not do, but yet everything gets done. Then we have purple, which is ultimate consciousness. All right, so regular human being, we're weighed down with a lot of these red, orange, and yellow feelings when we're first learning and growing. And that's okay, we're healing. Some trauma happened. Oh, here comes some childhood trauma. There it is. It got us. Oh no, and then we reacted and we hurt others. Here's some karmas. That stuff happens. It's all right. But we can heal it. We can fix this all. We can change our vibration. Who's to say a particle just vibrates at one constant rate forever and ever? That's not how science works. Okay. So as we do our healing, we can go to therapy. Meditation is huge. Changing your diet, change what you put into your body. Oh, speaking of that, let's go to our substances. Okay, so caffeine actually vibrates at 223. Where does that put us? That's just above the neutral point of courage. So actually, if your vibration is lower than 200, and if you are in shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, pride, and you're working on balancing your root chakra still, which is your ability to feel safe in the world, the ability to feel like you are provided for, like you are taken care of, like you have your essentials met, food, housing, water, clothing, then you're working on your root at about 200. So technically, caffeine can raise your vibration if you're vibrating lower than that. If your base vibration is higher than that, caffeine is lowering your vibration. Once again, don't beat up on yourself. I used to use all of these substances. I use 0 of them now because my natural vibration is higher. But I spent a lot of my life down here, and this was me feeling, oh, I felt upside down. Give me some caffeine. Get me up to yellow, please, because I'm way down here, and I want to be feeling a little bit better. So that's okay. All right. Well, alcohol. Alcohol vibrates at 270. So that's just above neutrality. So I guess it's starting to be positive, you know, especially if your vibration is lower than 270, you can raise your vibration. And that's when, you know, people start to get trusting, they start to get, you know, a little bit more courage. That they call it liquid courage, because now you have the courage to do the things you couldn't because your vibration was lower than courage, and then you drank alcohol. Now it's up there. But we all know what happens with hangovers. I think we've all been there before. So yeah, is it really worth it? You're going to have to make that decision yourself. There's definitely a difference between occasional use and daily use. And there's a difference in like how the alcohol is made. Is it high quality, made for like craftsmanship and artisan like qualities about it, or is it just made for profit by companies who are just draining you? Alcohol is otherwise known as spirits. You are more influenceable by spirits when you drink. You do not have the higher vibrations like willingness and acceptance and reason. Reason can you know, fall short when we're at 270. You're not at 400. So a lot of people smoke some weed, and yeah, I used to do that too for a long time. And I always thought weed was bringing me up. Weed was like helping me out so much. Weed was healing me. Weed was great. I smoked it every day. Weed vibrates at 350. That is acceptance. So, you know, when you're stoned, you're like, oh yeah, you know, my problems, they're fine. Like, whatever. Like, I'll get through this. Oh, forgiveness. Yeah, that person that made me angry, I can forgive them. I feel like, you know, life is harmonious. Like, everything's great. Like, I'm high and I feel good. You know? And so you know, we're starting to, at that point, you know, we're starting to, oops, sorry. Get this up here. Need more hands, really. We're starting to put in some substances that are helping us out a little bit. You know, raising our vibration. All right, I'm at 350 now. I'm high. You know, things like Rastafarianism, they bless the weed. It's an offering to Jah, their god. And so, yeah, that can actually maybe even increase the vibration above 350 when you're just smoking it like out of habit and you're not really doing it as ceremonially. You know, it's probably 350 or lower. You can get it up a little bit by your intention, but it still probably does not vibrate at reason. I've had a lot of these myself, high-deas, I used to call them. Ideas when I'm high. Kind of like pipe dreams, you know. I mean, it's great to be dreaming and it's great to be hoping and wishful, but the reality of those ideas, you know, how many of them really came to fruition? How much action did we really take on those ideas? Probably not very much, because we weren't yet at reason. It was kind of unreasonable. But at least we were in forgiveness and we're harmonious. And yes, remember, these are positive in the green. So our muscles are getting stronger. Our emotional state is getting stronger. So if you're vibrating lower than 350 on an everyday basis, weed is going to raise your vibration. If you're above it, weed is actually going to lower your vibration. Up next, we have plant medicine. So now these are things like mushrooms, ayahuasca, peyote, things of that nature. And they actually vibrate at 5 to 600. So they're going to be right up there past love, joy, and peace. So I think if you've tried these before, you've had some experiences, you know, that have really like opened up your mind. Whoa, I hear colors. You know, third eye is opening. Like you can actually feel spirit, you can feel the connectedness of all things. Maybe you can see auras. You start to do some deep healing, actually. Some things can come up from the past, and where you start feeling like this is so beneficial right now, you start feeling that connectedness, the oneness, all that love, all those blue, you know, those blue and purple vibrations up here, love, joy, peace, that start filling you up. So for most people, actually plant medicine is going to raise your consciousness. I mean, your, you know, vibration, your scale of emotions. I'm not advocating for anybody to do anything illegal. And I'm also, I know you do not need these substances in order to become enlightened. You do not need them to raise your vibration. Do they help? They do. But like I said, I'm definitely not advocating to do anything illegal, and everybody should always do their own research. If we do anything in excess, it's not good. That's another thing too. So yeah, plant medicine, if most people probably don't have a natural vibration of 5 to 600, so it will temporarily raise your emotional level, but remember that's temporary. So you might come and have like what they call a come down afterwards. You know, you're not going to stay there. So the whole goal of all this is to permanently get our vibration up. And then this little guy here, you know, his heart gets filled. His heart gets filled with love and peace and joy, and pretty much soon becomes enlightened. You start vibrating higher and higher and higher and higher. Now you're enlightened. When you get up there, any substance is going to lower your vibration. They're all lower than 700. And this is the goal. We're going to get up here. We're all going to get there one life or another. So don't really be in a rush, you know, but things like meditation, changing our diet will definitely help us get there. It's pretty much the goal of life overall. So let me zoom out and show you the whole thing. Those are where all the vibrations are. Remember, don't beat up on yourself if you're in the lower ones or if you're using any of these substances. Just recognize, you know, now if you've watched this video this far, now you know the science behind it. You know what's going on and why we're feeling the way we do. And so remember, courage, 200, is the neutral point. Anything below there is negative, anything above there is positive. So if you're feeling one of these one day, you can still go into one of these on that same day. If you want to raise your vibration, there's many things we can do, natural things, like for one, getting nature. Take care of plants and animals. You know, do some barefoot walking, earthing. We can ground out ourselves. Meditation. Meditation, in my opinion, is key. It's the single most important thing we can do. We can change our vibrations by what we put into our body. That is our foods. What are we eating? I do ultimately recommend avoiding meat, dairy, fish. These are unsustainable practices that are harming animals. Those vibrations of the animals go into the food, and if you're consuming those vibrations, you're consuming a lower vibration. It's going to become part of you. You know, you are what you eat. I understand everybody has their own path and timing, so don't feel pressured to make any changes, but if you feel it in your heart that it is time to make some changes, I would recommend, you know, a plant-based diet with meditation. Yoga is great. We can express ourselves, do things like journaling, art, make music, sing, dance, whatever it is that's your passion. Play some sports. You know, do those activities that make you feel in the now, that make you forget about time. That's how you know when you're in the flow and you're raising your vibration. Whenever we can get into the now, we're getting out of the past and out of the future. Remember, depression comes from living in the past, and anxiety comes from living in the future. Neither of those exist. The only thing we have is the now. So this has been a pretty long video. I'm taking it in different edits. But I hope you're with me, and I hope this is helpful. It's actually been a video that I've been guided to make for at least a month or more, but I had a little bit of hesitation. But it's time, you know, it's time to get that message out, and it's time to connect. It's time to connect with others. Let's do it. Let's raise our vibration. We all need help too. That's the other thing, is this isn't something that most people do alone. Very rarely we have a hermit that goes into the mountains and isolates and reaches enlightenment. Even if that was your path, you still need to come back into civilization to practice what you learned, because it's easy to remain calm when there's no stimuli. So we all get tested, we all have ups and downs. Remember, we are those particles vibrating. So you're moving in up and down cycles too. What's your frequency? What's your period? You do have cycles, and we can overcome that. So, like I said again, I'm gonna stress this again, be easy on yourself, love others. The vibrations that we put out are the ones that we're gonna receive. So if you wanna receive love, give love. If you want somebody to take care of you, take care of others. Treat others how you wanna be treated. You know, it's pretty much that simple, but yet it's not. Easier said than done, right? So, this video has gone on pretty long. I'm gonna end it with this mighty tree. This tree is so old. How long this thing's been here? Love you guys. Peace, love, and happiness.